I'm Heather Smith and welcome to Cloud Stories, a podcast exploring the accounting and business apps community. Today, I bring you the accounting innovation and technology buzz, current news, trends and analysis with Trent McLaren for the month of November 2021. Trent McLaren is currently the head of the accounting and bookkeeping channel at DiviPay and has deep experience in the accounting technology industry. I'm a strategic partner of DiviPay, and you can read about the way I work with apps at endorsementdisclosure.com. You'll also find a link to that in the show notes of my website. So rather than constantly disturb the podcast with advertisements within the podcast, I want to be upfront and disclose that you can find the information at that link. Hopefully that works for you and you find that a transparent method of doing it. I feel that anyone listening to this link is smart enough to press forward 30 seconds as soon as an advert appears, which is exactly what I do. So I'm just trying to develop a pleasurable listening experience for you, and so you can listen through the podcast without being disturbed with adverts. So, during the podcast, Trent and I talk about awards, acquisitions, we question the purpose of white papers, and we discuss some trends that we're seeing in the industry at the moment. Now, one of the news items we neglected to mention, which I felt that I should just mention now because we had actually neglected to mention, was that the e-signature solution, Anature, who's also a strategic partner of mine, they partnered with Qantas Business Rewards to grant customers frequent flyer points for every document completed through Anature. So I took a look at the Qantas Business Rewards page, and there are a number of solutions from the ecosystem there, including B2B Pay, Norton Cybersecurity, Succession Plus, and surprisingly, if you actually renew your membership with the Institute of Public Accountants, you can gain Qantas points. After living in Canada for some time, I became quite thrifty when it comes to coupons and points collecting. So taking a moment to set up a flow of points can help you accumulate points, which for me personally, I typically convert into vouchers for local retail stores. But obviously, there's lots of different options that you can use them for. So I would love to now hand over to the episode. Please forgive me for occasionally interrupting Trent because sometimes I'm trying to explain the anagrams or the wording that he's using so that our audience completely understand that. So please forgive me for that. I just don't want to lose anyone in our conversation. It's such a joy to have Trent on the show, and he's so rich and passionate in what he's sharing. But sometimes I am interrupting them, so I apologize for that. I know that it can be a bit annoying for doing that, so sorry about that. But I really hope you enjoy the episode. Thank you. Hello, and welcome to the Accounting, Innovation and Technology Buzz, the current news, trends and analysis for the month of, I kind of think this is November, for the month of November. So this is part of the Cloud Stories podcast, and we're very grateful to have Trent McLaren join us. Now, I have been planning to get a little theme song made for you, Trent, like TTRREENT. But I'll do something better. I will try and get one together for you, Trent.
I like it. Maybe like a slow, progressive jazz, something a little like, just get people in the zone and the mood for just an
people in the zone and in the mood to hear from Trent.
Something you do at the fireplace with a glass of whiskey. That sounds about right.
Okay, well, I will go and pitch that on fiverr.com and see what they come back with for our next session. So, Trent, how are you doing?
I'm really well, thank you. I obviously joked at the start that I'm in home isolation at the moment, but we're fine, we're good. My Uber driver, of all the people on the Gold Coast, the one person that had tested positive to COVID was my Uber driver a week and a half back. So, 4 more days of living in my mansion in the rainforest down here in Currumbin, and we're all good. No sickness, no nothing. I think I'm starting to get immune to this thing at this rate. We've been around it for so long, which is a joke. Obviously, we're probably not immune to it. But yeah, no, things are good. Having a good old time working from home. How are you?
I'm doing well. Look, I'm really, really sorry to hear that you are in isolation. And thank you for what you're doing by being in isolation for the community. It's such a shame. And hopefully we can get past this horrid pandemic as soon as possible.
100%.
I'm doing well. I had some the exciting news in my world is my border collie, Chester the border collie, finally realized he could swim. And so on Sunday, he went swimming. We take him to the beach frequently, but he didn't realize he could do dog paddle. And it's not something you can actually teach the dog, but he finally realized. So now life and activities are opened up for him.
Wow.
And I'm doing well. That's quite enjoyable. I have been listening to a lot of different podcasts recently. And surprise, as perhaps happens in your world, I was awarded an Order of Companion from the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers. So
wow. Congratulations. I know I'm clapping. You could edit in the clapping after, I'm sure, but just in case, let's just edit the clapping in manually at this point. That's amazing. Well done.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Queen has hurt her back at the moment, so she can't actually hand it to me. But
couldn't hop on the Zoom and give you a pre-recorded message.
Absolutely, she should, shouldn't she?
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure what it means, but I'm very grateful for the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers for that award. And with that saying, it is Raise a Cup for Bookkeepers Week. So I have my cup here. Raise a cup to all the fabulous bookkeepers in our community who help us. I should drink something from it.
Yeah, mine. I'm going to pretend there's tea in this. This is my ergonomic cup. It's got a little dint in it, which is perfect for my thumb. You guys can't see it, but just it's a thing you would drink in a hipster cafe that I brought home because, I make my own coffee at home now. So I've gone full.
Very good. Well, very important, the bookkeepers in our community.
100%.
Assist us in getting all of the detail correct and do so many things to contribute to helping the small business community and beyond, especially through this horrid pandemic.
Yes.
So, Trent, let's talk about what has actually been happening in the world of technology in the last month. And as we've talking, we sort of keep a record of what's been going on. And the first thing we have to talk to are the recent Xero Awards, which actually seemed quite a long time ago, but we're only a few weeks ago.
Yeah, very cool. I'm very passionate about the technology in this space. I've obviously been in and around it for 10 years, which a lot of people keep telling me is not that long compared to how long they've all been in the industry, but I still feel like it's been a long time, nearly a third of my life. So that's a pretty big deal. But no, yeah, huge congrats to Change GPS, Practice App of the Year, ServiceMate for Small Business App of the Year, AzurePay for Emerging App of the Year, and Moolah for Financial Services App of the Year. All very deserving in their own right and category. And a lot of these, besides maybe Emerging App of the Year, because the idea being that they're new, a lot of these apps have been here for a long time, doing a lot of really good things. So, and I know specifically in a year of the big pandemic and how that's impacted Australia, I'm not too surprised to see these companies up and about based on the work that they do, the services they provide to their clients. I think it's, job well done from my perspective.
Absolutely. And Change GPS is actually based here in Brisbane, has been around since the very beginning and has been at every XeroCon or Xero Roadshow with Timothy Monroe, their founder, leading the challenge there. He actually just lives down the road from me. I frequently see him at breakfast. We share the same favourite breakfast hangout. And interestingly, for people listening in, ServiceMate is actually born out of Darwin. So I just always think it's wonderful when you have what is not necessarily a main sort of a more of a regional city that you can actually create and build a solution out of it and service it that way. AzurePay actually are really quite new to the Xero app marketplace. I think they'd only been in there a few months, but I guess that's what an emerging app is, isn't it? Something that's only been there a few months, and I don't know too.
Good fun trivia. DiviPay once won Emerging App of the Year in 2019. So
DiviPay.
we did. Well, can you believe that? So yeah, no, it's a good award. I think it just helps showcase the apps that are going to be really good in a few years' time, and that's my biased opinion because I work at DiviPay and it's been a few years since then. But yeah, ZooPay, well done. Real-time payments platform connected to Pay ID. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are right, because I think DiviPay really came to probably a lot of our awareness when you joined them, because it's like an explosion of amplification when you join a company. And they actually have been around in the market for quite some time. And I'm very grateful to have to work with DiviPay. So some other news some other tech
There's a
news.
lot of acquisitions, right? There's a lot of acquisitions on our
There
today.
are so many mergers or acquisitions and so much money in the market. So Hub24 are going to acquire Class, the SMSF software solution. And Class had previously acquired Now Infinity. And the acquisition, they're valuing the company at $386 million. And I think it's a part money and part shares acquisition. But that's quite a massive acquisition in that area.
There's so much money getting around at this point. And I know we keep talking about the great consolidation, or at least I do. It's not the great resignation, it's the great consolidation. And it's needed to happen for a while, and it still does. Like, there's going to be a lot more of this to come. Bigger companies coming in, and we're going to get back to these big companies that have lots of products. I know we've been in this best of breed world, and we'll stay in that best of breed world, but the actual best of breed are going to get bored. Like, it's going to happen. We've seen it with HubDoc. I think we've seen it with... you think back in the early days, right? Spotlight had sold work papers off. Workflow Max got acquired and bought off. MailChimp was acquired. We talked about that last time. There's just a lot. There's a lot going on. Like, month to month, it's hard to keep track of all the things that we could talk about. Locate inventory just purchased by Xero.
Yes.
That was only like a week ago. Like, this is out of control.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it is interesting. So let's talk about Locate and the inventory purchase there. So Locate Inventory appears to be an ERP solution. So it was an ERP inventory management solution. But it seems that the acquisition is that Xero is going to use a lighter version of the inventory management. They're not going to use the full-on ERP version of it, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I think as you sort of saw and found as well through, I think it was Matt's tweet, Matty Paff.
Matt Paff, yes.
Matt Paff, for those who don't know, great person, good insights. The acquisition was specifically for actually the team and hiring the team that built the platform, and they're looking to actually discontinue Locate Inventory, which is interesting. I think we talked about this with MailChimp last time. InShort buying MailChimp for the customers and the team, and potentially less for the product itself, right? It's a big product with a lot of customers. In this case, I think it's the same thing. They're buying the expertise of someone that's built complex inventory before, and that obviously speaks to a lot about what Xero's strategy may be in the future. Super interesting.
Yeah, it is super interesting. And as we're referencing a public tweet out there by Matt Paff about the actual acquisition, that the product will be sunsetted October 10th, 2022. And I did want to just briefly talk about this as we're constantly, as accountants, as bookkeepers, as partners, we're constantly told that we are the trusted advisor. And then we go in and we have a scoping session and a recommendation with a client. And then they go through the process of implementing it. And then to be faced with the fact that suddenly they can no longer use it. And then they're faced with the turmoil and potential cost of re-implementing another solution. It really kind of pulls the rug underneath that trusted advisor sentiment that we are trying to hold, and we do value. It is a challenging situation.
It is challenging. It's tough, though. I think, like, these software companies aren't necessarily like, all these founders don't build great ideas to stay in it for 20 years, right? Like, it's built to solve a pain and a problem, and we're all looking to build and expand our businesses in different ways. Even as accountants and bookkeepers, I think, we go through different evolutions. We bring on new partners, we exit partners, things change and happen in a life cycle. For every business, let alone these tech companies. But I think we all feel the impact of these tech companies. I think, again, referring back to the Sage acquisition last month and the impact that plays on existing customers in the community, and just think, heck, what do I do now? Like, I was so happy with how things were, but at the end of the day, this is the only time I would normally say this, I guess, but it does come down to the founders. Like, what is it that they want for themselves? They spend so much time building products for customers. Eventually, they've got to take in, what are their own personal needs and what fits their life cycle. And, in this age of this pandemic, there's just been a lot of change, and that's driven a lot of different disruption and things. I'm sure it's definitely changed the way that these accounting platforms are thinking about their acquisitions. It is. I get it. It can be frustrating, but I think it's another one of those ones. We're going to roll with the punches as it happens, adapt, because that's what we've been doing for 10 years anyway. We're going to have to keep on keeping on, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you move to a solution, try and understand the vision there, but you're not actually going to get all of the information placed out in that vision. And you have to, as you said, roll with the punches. So it is, and I think also we do that, there is a lot of talk about the trend of niching and niching really tightly, but within that niching, there may also need to be some diversification there. And I had a lady come back to me and said, you always said I should niche, and I niched very tightly in tourist bus drivers. I wasn't aware that was a niche.
That's a big micro niche right there.
And it was a very tight micro niche, and I just wasn't. And there is the adoption of niching, but then diversification within that niche. So not all of your eggs are in one basket.
Yeah. Did it work?
Until the pandemic, it worked.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I get that.
Unfortunately.
I read something interesting yesterday, actually, because I read a lot of marketing, and I love that stuff. And it was Dave Gerhardt talking about building because if your target audience is so broad, right? Let's say you're just marketing to everyone, it's really hard to reach everyone. But when I start to create my niche, it's actually not that hard to reach everyone now, because who I'm going after would all sit in a similar pond. So it can be a lot more effective for my marketing dollars to actually target a niche, in this case, bus, we said tour bus drivers in that sense. Once you figure out what all the commonalities are, like where do they hang out? Do they go to conventions? Do they read certain media types? Again, this is why I see a lot of sponsoring through things like Accountants Daily, because that audience is accountants. So, you are your own niche in that sense, right? And this is a more cost-effective way to do marketing. When you can't spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on a TV spot or an ad campaign, niching is a really powerful way to reach your ideal target persona. I like it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. I have had someone ask me to run an event next year on triple niching, which is niching into an industry, niching into a section of that industry, and then niching into the specific software. So that's that really direct. And I guess it's a concept out there, and it's worth throwing it out there and putting it on a panel discussion and having some thought leadership around it. So,
I do like it. I think it's because, again, you're trying to find, like, who's your industry. I'll use a good one. We're doing this a lot at the moment. Non-for-profits, CFOs in non-for-profits that use Xero. That's a really easy one for me to kind of rattle off the top of my head, because we see so much alignment with all three. Not that we don't love the MYB and the QBO fam and all that as well. But in terms of being able to go, cool, that's if we get that person, we're like, 70, 80% likely to have them become a customer because they all identify with the same points. The data flows all the same way. So trying to retrain everyone is not that complex compared to everyone coming in on all these different softwares. I like the triple niche. I think that's cool.
Yeah. So that's something to further explore. So let's move on and talk about something else. One of the things that popped up in my feed was that Expensify have a prize, a big competition out there, which is a Tesla challenge. They're giving away a single Tesla Model 3 to one lucky Expensify approved partner, which I thought that's a really big prize to give away.
I know. I'm looking at the T&Cs right now, trying to figure out if I can enter this competition. If it's based on social media retweets, I think I can win this.
You can. Excellent. It's a big prize. It's bigger than a sort of the backpack that we frequently get from things.
I remember when they did their Super Bowl ad campaign and they had 2 Chainz and
it Adam Scott?
Yeah, Adam Scott. That's what I say. Adam Scott and 2 Chainz the rapper, and I was like, okay, just
I'm glad you knew the rapper.
yeah. I was like, just whatever, just drop the. And then they were just taking photos of things all through the ad campaign. I'm like, Intuit, I expect to drop money on that kind of stuff, but that's I'm admiration. I can't wait to drop $1 million on a Super Bowl campaign.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Amazing. Yeah, no, it would be fun. So moving on from that, I did want to just briefly talk about Canopy. So this is an American product, and I'm not sure if you've seen this, but this is Canopy 2020 did a 2021 client expectation study. So Canopy is an accounting practice management software with CRM, document management, and a client portal app, and it's got sort of various other features in there. I really like it when software solutions do studies because they have access to a lot of data within them, and they also have access to a lot of customers. So I think that some of these studies can surface some useful information. The way they ask the questions may be somewhat biased.
Well, I was, just playing the other side of it. And again, I come from a software perspective, so I appreciate how these things get built and the old goal, as much as it's let's put out good info that people can digest. I wouldn't be surprised if all the answers result in buy Canopy. Majority of small businesses want an accountant who provides an online portal. Specifically, you ask them about an online portal because in my mind, clients don't. I've never had a client come to me saying, it'd be really cool if I had an online portal I could just drop my stuff into. That would make my life so much easier.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That didn't happen. So, I like these reports. I reference these reports and things, but I do struggle a little bit with the because it's here's the pain, here's the problem, and the solution is you need an online portal, my friend. Like when you've got that, you'll fix everything.
So one of the things that did surface for me, which was a small aha moment, was they said the ability to upload documents to an accounting firm via a cell phone is especially important for those in the construction, distribution and healthcare fields where they may be away from their desks for long periods of time, which that kind of did trigger, that was a bit of an aha moment for me, so specific. I'm totally not the mobile savvy person at all. So I do hardly any. I don't even understand why they build out so much for the mobile phone. Sorry to all the mobile lovers out there, but that made sense.
I am that person. Yeah, I can be sitting in a coffee shop and just on my phone, and someone's like, "You're right. What are you doing?" I'm like, "Bro, I'm working. I'm on my phone. Like, get off me." But I could be in Slack, could be writing emails, could be sending tweets. It's a pretty busy day in my life. I can appreciate definitely the mobile access piece, but when it says so, it makes sense that 72% want a mobile app from their accountant. I'm like, is that really what they want? It's like, it's not that I don't want my accounting firm to have an app that I can do stuff with. I just want an easy way to communicate with. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I do. I mean, look, I'll give them credit. The branding looks great. I'm loving the colours and everything of the report.
Yeah. Look, there's we need analytical reasoning, and hopefully the accountants and the bookkeepers out there have analytical reasoning. And I don't know whether you just register for it to get it, but I registered to get it. The next morning at 5 a.m. in the morning, I was at the dog park with Chester, and I had a phone call from them, and I was like, seriously, why are you calling me at 5 a.m. in the morning?
Right.
So yeah, it is a good email and contact gathering solution, but I did that for the community so we could see if there was anything worth learning.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice looking report. I don't know. I'm a marketer. I don't trust other marketers. That's 101. 101. You can't, I know all the tricks of the trade here.
Look at that. You're exposing.
I didn't know this was going to turn into a marketing teardown, but I'm here for it.
Very good. Very good. So this has popped up a few times in my universe in the last month. So Accounting Web Intuit have announced that they're discontinuing desktop QuickBooks in the UK from the January 31st, 2023. Yep. So desktop QuickBooks in the UK is discontinued from January 31st, 2023. And then I watched the Intuit had a massive conference over the last month, and they announced an app that will connect their desktop solutions to the cloud. So they're not using it in the cloud. They're going to use an app to do it. So US is still going ahead with the desktop. The UK are not going ahead with the desktop.
I mean, it's just a sign of things to come, right? I mean, we've been doing this in Australia for a little while already. We saw MYOB discontinue desktop and bring in a hybrid. We've we probably sit closer to 60-70% of businesses on the cloud in Australia. Like, it's pretty damn high. But a lot of it is because our incumbents did make that choice. And I think, good on them. I'm for it as long as it's the right fit for the client. But I think for the client who doesn't want to make, big company doesn't want to make the change, that's tough because they will need to either go into a best of breed environment, which they may not want to do, or take a step up into a mid-size accounting software, which could still be desktop, or again, could be hybrid. But this is just the way of the future. I don't know what the world wants from us right now. Like, we have to go that way. We're going that way. Can please everyone get on board? That'd be great.
Do you think that as we come out of this pandemic, there is any business that has operated prior to the pandemic and then during lockdown, so which is more reference to lockdown, they're going to have got online. Surely anyone who was going to go online would have gone online by now. Like,
you would think
what reasoning would you give to someone in 2022? Like, let's say March 2022. There's no way you can convince someone to go online in March 2022 if they haven't done it in the last 2 years.
And that was the interesting thing with the UK with their MTD legislation in the first place. That was designed to help bring,
which is making tax digital for people listening. And sorry to interrupt you, Trent.
I apologise. No, it's good. I apologise. Yeah, making tax digital, designed to help bring all these businesses online. And I know all the software companies got real excited. They were like, "Oh, this is it. This is going to be our big cash cow, our payday." And surprise, surprise. These businesses didn't budge. They didn't move. They were incentivized, get it free, do this. And these UK business owners were like, nah, I'm not doing it. They'd rather do like an Excel hybrid upload, push into digital that way, as opposed to shift online, because they like their annual, buying the software once, not having to pay for it all the time. At the end of the day, if we're relying on accounting and bookkeeping to sell it, that's tough, right? Because they're not necessarily, it does make their life easier, but not every person is gifted at communicating the value proposition to their client. It's like, I have to do what the government told me to. Well, that just sounds like a guilt purchase now, doesn't it? That doesn't, no, I'm not inspired to do that. But when I start leading with, valuable information, better insight into what's going on, making better decisions on your business now, not in 3, 6, 9, 12 months' time, that's great. But if I'm 55, 60 years old, I'm going to retire anyway, because I've heard accountants telling me the same thing. It's like, Trent, I love what you're doing. You're really passionate about it, but I'm going to retire next year, so I'm probably just going to chill. They didn't say chill, but that's me, slanging it down. I'm just going to chill on this and leave you to go about your business. I'm like, okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. People are at different stages, but I think over the next 10 years, we're going to see those, as people are retiring and moving on and new people are coming into the business, that's that change that will take place, but it's going to be staggered, because even when the government tries to mandate cloud adoption and change, it's still not going to happen.
Yeah. And when you talk about the people retiring and potentially selling their business, I struggle to see value in businesses that aren't digitally forward. And when people say, "Oh, I'm buying a client list," but I'm like, "Well, what are you buying?" Like that sounds.
And it's not even that not digitally forward, because they were at some point, right? Because eventually it used to be paper-based. We were doing double entry. We were writing left and right, debits, credits, writing it all down in paper-based journals. And then we moved to desktop accounting, and that happened, right? Everyone made that change 20, 30 years ago. Now we're at that next iteration of that. These people are not digitally savvy. They found a way of doing it. They need to be convinced otherwise, right? Everyone's got different trigger points for them. Some people need to go through an experience, like going through, I get it all the time, people that lose their credit card or have something stolen, and then it's like, Trent, we're going to set up DiviPay now, because when we spoke to you last, I didn't have pain. Now I have pain, and now I want to do it so that I don't ever have this pain again. And I'm like, you're cool, man. You do you. If it's now, and I say this to everyone, I said, whether you want to do something now or later, I don't mind. I'll still be here, and we can do this when you're ready. But we're ready whenever you are. That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, let's move on. There was another download available. Sorry, it seems like I'm just sharing downloads, but I did. I
love downloads. As you can tell from my last review of the last one.
So this is from Intuit, and it is the Path to Advisory, and I'll put a link in the show notes, but it was an 80-page document that had been prepared by their tax council, the Intuit Tax Council. So I didn't exactly understand why the Tax Council developed a document on advisory, because tax and advisory are different. It's kind of like getting the foot doctor to do a book on brain surgery.
Unless you're doing tax advisory.
Unless they're doing tax advisory, but it doesn't appear to be doing tax advisory. But it is an 80-page book, and it is kind of like a workshop book. So I do think it's free. I would encourage you to go and grab it if this is something of interest to you. I'll just read out the things: crafting a vision for your firm, identifying your niche and unique selling points, planning your advisory workflow, developing your team, winning clients with content marketing, planning your project timeline. So lots of useful information in there.
Yeah, I always try to think about why would they spend the time and the effort to build the report? What are they trying to get across? What's the impact and the flow on? So me digesting all of this, if I'm Intuit and I've got 100,000 pro advisors, if not more, but let's just stay with 100,000, and I can help them grow their clients, then we will have longer lasting clients that will be with us for a long time. So that improves my lifetime value as Intuit, as in that sense. If my clients grow, then they may need to upgrade and adopt other systems. So maybe they go to QuickBooks Advanced up higher. Maybe they adopt our payroll, our payments products, our MailChimp products. Yeah. That's in the very short summary. That's where my head goes in terms of why build these resources. Why do I help equip my pro advisors? Because that helps equip my customers, and my customers keep paying my bill at the end of the day, and that's a good win-win. But managing this across 100,000 people is no easy task. I have a lot of admiration for how they do things in the US, because they still have like the 90% market share that they've had for so long. Trying to get this right, and whether firms are adopting it and whether it's having that impact or not is a different story, and I'd love to try and see those results. But 80 pages, a lot of money, time and effort goes into building something like this, and they've obviously involved a lot of good pro advisors as part of that to share their own unique journey. Again, they're talking about niching, They're talking about the average fees per planning client. Like it's designed to help inspire and motivate people, right? Which I don't think is a bad thing.
Yes.
But I also see how they do it.
Yes, that's got my friend Heather Satterley.
I love Heather.
One of the commentators. Yes. Heather's wonderful. I don't know the other people, but that's completely fine. I think peer-to-peer advice is so important and can just really move you forward in that journey, because they have the end of the trenches understanding of what's happening with them, and they just may be able to shape something and frame something in a way that you understand and you can roll with. And one of the interesting things listening into one of my sort of non-accounting industry podcasts was the change in education over the last decade, in that we are actually gaining a lot more education from sort of non-universities and non-sort of training colleges, but we are actually gaining them from software solutions, and we're hearing different voices, and people need to hear different voices and identify that voice that resonates with them. And this, if it gets people going, that's great.
It's interesting because, again, if I look at, do I want to learn from a lecturer who's just been teaching for 10 years, or do I want to go and chat to the person that just built and sold their $1 million business so I can figure out exactly what they did and what were the core principles that led to that point? So I think, from accounting professionals, they could hear it from a lecturer that can give them the theory of how accounting works. But and you can do the same thing in a business sense, but actually talking to someone that's been through the pain and worked through their mistakes and came out successful, that person's going to have the best earned insight and earned experience that I will most benefit from, which is why I think, we see these YouTube channels explode and all those, different podcasts and things exploding, because it becomes a download of people's earned experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that, Blake Oliver has just released Earmarked CPD. And so the podcast can actually filter through Earmarked CPD, and you can gain verified CPD from them. So I think he's being very innovative and forward-thinking and developed that app. And I think he's promised me a ride on his Learjet when he builds it to take over the education industry. So I think one more piece of tech news here is Xero has announced an easier integration between Xero and Shopify.
Yeah, we're surprised. Like, we saw the Dex acquisition for Greenback the other week. This data play that everyone seems to be making is huge. I caught up with Meryl Johnson recently, actually, and talked to her about her new app Crossbeam. Wow, I nearly said something else. Crossbeam. And I'm glad you could correct me, and that was great. But, there's a lot of really cool, smart people working on solutions to help fill that gap and void, because the native integrations that most of these platforms make suck. And I don't mean that in any, legitimately, they're crap.
They don't suck. In fact, that's the problem. It's that they're tragic. If they're actually sucking the data out, it would be okay.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I see what you're saying. No, they're terrible. They're terrible integrations, right? The amount of people you see complaining about, whether it's bank feeds, if it's Stripe, it's PayPal, it's this, that, and the other, it's terrible. So, I wouldn't be surprised if you see more of that happening, whether it's direct native integrations, that money goes into fuel, better data coming in. But this is what we want. This is a good thing. I don't know how that, because obviously we saw the appointment for the Jamies at A2X recently as well.
The Jamies were the co-founders of HubDoc, for people listening in. Jamie McDonald and Jamie Schulman. Yes.
Schulman,
and Schulman, and they left HubDoc after the acquisition and have now gone to A2X, which is A2X came from Amazon to Xero. That's how that name came about, A2X, but it now integrates a lot more solutions. And what happens is the reconciliation process is a nightmare, because so much information is there. Sorry. I'm cutting you.
Don't apologise. This is your show. You shouldn't be ever apologising. But there's a lot of attention on that data plate. So, how we get more integrity on our data is key, because a lot of time gets wasted correcting issues made by this automation. So I'm not surprised to see the improvement to Xero's Shopify integration. I wouldn't be surprised if I see a lot more of them in the future. It's It's a good time. Better data, better conversations, better results. I'm here for it. Give me all the accurate data in real time yesterday. That's what I want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that e-commerce is just only going to get bigger. And you may remember, Trent, when we were down at Byron Bay together, we were having a conversation with Clayton about data.
Was this at 3 a.m.?
Yeah, it was 3 a.m. What else were we talking
about? I do remember. I apologise.
And I may actually got Clayton on the last episode, which was released last week, and he came on with Xero's General Manager of Data, AI and Machine Learning, Kendra Vent. She came on and we had a big discussion, which was continuing on from that conversation at 3 a.m. in the morning on data. And it was very exciring. You should go listen to it.
I should go and listen to it. I mean, only because I want to refresh that 3 a.m. conversation. But no, it's there's a lot of, like, software companies have a lot of power, right? They get so much insight, especially when you think about it from a Xero or an Intuit perspective. They can see all these trends, right? I think Amazon sits in the same boat. They can see what's selling well. They can buy and develop their own thing and sell it to that target niched audience of people, right? Talk about being able to niche properly. Well, these companies with all the data can do the best version of niching that any of us could ever imagine, because they have so much information about us. How old I am, what I'm most likely to buy, what I've bought before, can help tell a lot about, well, if I put this in front of you and it ticks all the boxes, then you'll probably want to buy that as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, Trent, what's happening in the DiviPay world?
Oh, yeah, great question. So lots. So we recently announced our partnership with CA ANZ. That was huge. That was awesome. We had some really good press announced on the back of that. So effectively, Australian CA members are able to get access to a complimentary, with an asterisk, account on DiviPay. I say all of that because that's what legal told me I had to say. But essentially, they can get a partner account and they can use DiviPay in their own firm. And the press release we put out talks about CA members being able to prevent fraud internally, because so many people are sharing credit cards with their team. I've had so many examples where the partner is working busily on something before a team member every couple of hours says, hey, can I borrow your card for a sec? I need to pay for an actuarial or for a new company setup or whatever it may be. And there's so many bottlenecks that land in that who can make payments in my firm piece. So DiviPay is a great scenario for you. I always say, if you're that person that says, hey, can I borrow your card for something, then you should just actually use DiviPay, because you could have your own card with your own budget and you can be transparently spending on the things that you need to spend on. And we get rid of that bottleneck and start to empower our teams to do the work that we can trust them to do. So, that partnership with CA was huge. We launched reimbursements. That was pretty cool. So we've got a free feature now where basically, if you've got people that don't use DiviPay cards, they spend with their own personal card, they can upload a receipt. It can be viewed, processed and approved and paid back to the employee in one place. So really cool for non-for-profit sporting clubs, communities that maybe don't want to spend, between $15 and $50 a month on software to help manage their spending. They can actually implement DiviPay's reimbursement product to manage all of all those funds the right way.
Did we talk about the DiviPay and Slip relationship?
Oh, did we? I don't know if we did, but if we didn't, I'm happy to. On the data play, it's a pretty big deal. Like, if you think about, we chase clients, I think 30 to 40% of all the receipts that come out, we're chasing around 30 to 40% based on a report that I can't remember the name of, but go with me and just believe me, it's true. When payments are made at the FPOS terminal, we can now automatically get a digital receipt that is sent into DiviPay instantly. So rather than that person having to take a photo of the receipt, upload it to your OCR system, push it into OCR into your accounting software, DiviPay just does this automatically. So for me, it's the death of OCR. It's the beginning of OCR being redundant in our lives. And again, I'm here for it. I think it's great. All the information comes across 100% accurate. You still need to obviously apply your GST treatment to those transactions, but the information does come across accurately because it's getting sent to us, kind of like an e-invoice, but it's an e-receipt. So again, it's pretty cool. I'm a big fan, and when I actually am allowed out of my house, I can't wait to go and use it.
Very good, Trent. Thank you for sharing that. It's brilliant to have you both working at DiviPay and able to share that information with us, and I appreciate it. So what should people be looking forward to? Is there anything in the next, before the end of the year, they should be looking forward to?
Oh, honestly, this year, everyone needs to get excited for Christmas, long lunches, and fun with your work colleagues and friends. I could insert a cool work thing, but really, I think everyone just needs a break. We are actually giving away $10,000 at the moment. I didn't talk about that. So, yeah, anyone that wants to maybe get 10 grand to spend on a long lunch or a Christmas party, we've got a DiviPay comp running at the moment. It's pretty easy to enter. You just put your email and details in. If you share it on social media, you'll get bonus points. But we're giving away 10 grand over 6 installments. So I think we can have 6 winners total, someone for $4,000 and then 6 people, $5,000 prize and 5 $1,000 prizes. Does that make sense? 10 grand in total, 6 winners, yes. 10 grand, long lunches.
Well, I'm sure Nicole Lynch will be in to try and win that. She always wins the prizes. So Nicole, out there, get in there and start winning that. But certainly a nice another nice prize. There's been a lot of prizes recently, and another nice one to get into. So for myself, tomorrow night I'm organising. I'm rolling out the last of our discussion group, and I'm hoping that it's going to work out because I've kind of thrown some concept out there. I have 3 people pitching from 3 corners of the room, advisory topics to discuss. And they will pitch what they're going to discuss, be it pricing, be it supply chain problems, being it tech advisory in terms of technology. They will pitch that, and then you join in the conversation that you want to join in, and then I will ring my bell. And every 15 minutes we'll swap, and they'll pitch another conversation, and then people join in. So it's a really an opportunity to have thought leadership, discussion, hear from your peers, and it's not one person. We have 3 expert facilitators: Cassandra Scott, the bookkeeper extraordinaire. We have John Munden, who is ex-Xero. He used to work in the enterprise, head of enterprise at Xero. He has now gone out on his own, and he's brilliant. And Alice Rue, who is a fellow of the CAANZ, and she's an insolvency expert. But really looking forward to that. Hopefully it will work well. Just a room full, because as you're saying, what I'm finding is a lot of people just want to talk. And it's an opportunity to talk, but with some light structure, some light drinks, and some light pizza, because it's technology, so pizza always has to be served.
You gotta have pizza. You can. I've been watching a lot of Silicon Valley at the moment, and I don't know if you've seen that show before.
No, I should actually go and watch it.
You have a good laugh. It's pretty funny. It's it's a sitcom, obviously, but it's about a startup founder in Silicon Valley, and just all the hilarious, funny things that can happen in your journey as a startup founder. And there's a Google equivalent called Hooli, and they do HooliCon, and they've got all these big conferences, and there's, but some of the things that happen in there are just absolute cat. Like, I'm in stitches. My wife, Melissa, and I watch it every night at the moment because we're just binging through it. And it's hilarious. It's probably one of the funniest, awesome takes on startup life I've seen, because it's true and stupid and funny.
Good. I will. I wonder where they got the intel from, but I guess if they're based in Silicon Valley, just stories from the cafe.
Oh yeah, I think everything that they kind of talk through just seems to be the dumb stuff that only happens in Silicon Valley. Like, they were a good example. They were driving out of the car and they thought they'd hit a deer, but it turned out to just be one of those Boston Dynamics robot deers. Have you seen those before?
Yeah, I know what you mean, yes.
It's like only in Silicon Valley can you run over a robot deer sort of thing. And it got back up, and they were, anyway, it's Watch her. If there's one takeaway from this whole podcast, watch Silicon Valley. It's hilarious.
Very good, very good. So, Trent, how can people get in contact with you?
So I live on LinkedIn and Twitter at least 20 minutes every day. I'm there very regularly, so feel free to hit me up for a public tweet, a private message. I'm open to all things. So, yeah, otherwise trent@divypay.com is my email, which I'm happy to give to you all.
Fantastic. And that's Trent McLaren at LinkedIn and on Twitter. And you can find me at Heather Smith AU on all the social media platforms. Thank you so much for sharing your thought leadership with us today, Trent, on the Accounting Innovation and Technology Buzz session. Really enjoyed this conversation. Really hope the community learn a lot from it and it helps them in their journey.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to be here as always.
Hello. I hope you enjoyed listening to our chat about the current news, trends and analysis in the accounting technology world for November with Trent McLaren. Reach out to us on social media and let us know what you thought of the discussion and what we should be discussing. Let us know what we should be discussing in December. I'll aim to include all the links that we referenced in our show notes, which you can find on my website. The easiest way to find my website is Heather Smith AU. Yes, Heather Smith was taken by someone. So Heather Smith AU, you can find it at. So you've been listening to the Cloud Stories podcast. I encourage you to subscribe and to leave us a 5-star review so other people can find this podcast. And if you found it useful, maybe you could share it with one more person who would also find it useful. So thank you so much for listening. Stay up to date with any curated content I'm sharing by signing up to the Accounting Apps newsletter, available at heathersmithau.com.